This tutorial is going to help you set up a NoseyNick Nebula. Credits go to NoseyNick, who has been able to create this server using Ubuntu. It's fantastic because, as you can see, the costs are significantly different from a graphics standpoint. I believe when I first was doing this, I had a G2.2 extra large graphical server, and all I did was set up the server. Didn't even play a game, didn't do anything, just set up the server, got all the files and everything loaded, and it cost me a little over $5. With the NoseyNick Nebula, I not only set up and played around, but I also ran an entire game that was shy of an hour under mini, and it ran fluent. It was beautiful. It's actually quite amazing how this thing works. So without further ado, I'm using Windows 10, 64-bit if that matters, with puTTy. On NoseyNick's website, which is NoseyNick.org/AWS, he has graciously given you links to get yourself a free AWS account and also to download puTTy. Make sure you download, if you haven't already, the most current version. Once you've done this, we're going to go ahead and go to the AWS site. So, first thing first is you're going to want to make sure you're at the closest server to where you are. For example, I'm on the East Coast, and the closest server is North Virginia. So I've selected this. From there, you're going to go to Services, and you're going to go to Services, Compute, and EC2. From that point, you're going to arrive at this screen, where you're going to launch an instance. At this point, which the date is 2/17/2019, we're going to be selecting the Ubuntu server 18.04. Now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, and you want to make sure the default is selected at 64-bit x86. You do not want the ARM, it will crash. So make sure that you are selected at your default. Once you've done that, you're going to click Select. And now I found this is easiest. Click Type. Scroll down until you find C5 extra large. You're going to click the box next to it, and you're going to click Next Configure Instance. You are not going to review and launch at this time. Once you get to this screen, we're going to scroll down until we find Shutdown Behavior, and we're going to click Terminate. This is important because when the server is finished, we actually are going to erase it. We're going to nuke it. You do not want it to stay running. That's why this server is so cheap, is because every single time you're going to restart the server. Now, and I will show you in this video how I have streamlined this process by saving different files. And I'll show you as I go along the tutorial. Also, there's a few things that I won't be loading only for security purposes, but I'll walk you through on how to get those running and how to get those set up to where next time you go through the settings, you won't have to be typing everything all over again. So once you've done that, you've gone to Terminate, you're going to go down to Advanced Details, click the drop down arrow. Right here is where NoseyNick has given us the information. This is what you're going to want to copy and paste and put right there. Now, I've streamlined it, and this is how one of the ways that I was able to make it quicker is I made on my desktop a text file, and I named it log for bins. Notice how this is the exact same thing that NoseyNick had on his server. Why that's so important is because I don't have to memorize this, and I don't have to come back to the website. All I've got to do is click Save As. As a file, browse, navigate to that specific file, and then open it. That's going to load a TXT file that is the exact same thing that you just saw. So that way I don't have to memorize it, I don't have to type it, it's all right there. But for your first time, especially if you haven't already saved a TXT file, you're going to want to copy and paste as a text file. Once you've done that, you're going to click Add Storage. You're going to ignore this. Add tags. You're going to ignore this. Configure security group. Now for your first time, you're going to name your security group, whatever you want to name it, description, whatever you want to name it. You're going to leave this line alone. You're going to click add rule, a custom TCP, and first port you're going to open is 2010. We're also going to make it from custom to anywhere. Now the second one isn't noted in NoseyNick's Nebula website, but I found Artemis Debug Protocol wants to call this, so I've added it just in case. I have seen these servers run without this, so it's not necessary, but I do it just for safety's sake. Click again, custom TCP. This one's going to be 35666. Same thing. To once it wants to load anywhere. From that point, you can click review and launch. However, I'm going to back up 2 seconds. The reason why I say naming it is important is because when you go to relaunch your server, you don't have to do this all over again. You just click select the server you already have, and boop, there's all my ports. Or I'm sorry, my security, and there's all my ports I've already opened. So I don't have to type all of that again. I don't have to memorize them. I just click it and I go. Review and launch. From here, it's just going to warn you, hey, by the way, you're not using a free tier. It's just going to give you a rundown of what you did. Yep, we know what we did. We're going to click launch. At this point, you're going to see a new pair. You're going to name it whatever you want and download the key pair. Now, it's very important you remember where you save this because you're going to have to retrieve it later. Me personally, I already have one, so I'm going to load from that key pair. But for you, you're going to download it. And I'll show you where you're going to pick it up in a second. The easiest place, put it on your desktop. And after you finish these steps, you can put it wherever you want so you can find it later. But I just found that it's easier to put it on your desktop. Just less things you got to click. So we're going to load it from my current pair that I already have. I'm going to also say I acknowledge that I've done that. Launch instance. Once it's launched, it says, okay, it's now launching. It's going to be loading up. If you go to services and you go to EC2, you're going to notice once it finally loads and does everything, if you click instances, and just ignore the ones that I've already terminated because I've already made this video 3 different times. Oh, look, one's already gone. I've made this video 3 times, and I'm hoping 3rd time's the charm. There's your IP. Now, and it's also booting up. Now, I'm not worried about showing you this because every time you do this, the IP address is always going to change. When you're hosting a game, write this down because this is what the players are going to have to type in order to get into the server that you just created. This will always change every time you boot one up. So just remember, that's always going to change. But go ahead and make a note of it. I'm going to copy it right now. I'm not going to connect. Control C. There we go. I'm going to copy this. Once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and load puTTy gen. Ignore this for right now. I said ignore. You're going to load puTTy gen. Now this is where it's very important that you know where you saved your file. Because once you click that, you're going to get a pop-up like this. You're going to click load. You're going to click here and all files. You're going to navigate to where you have saved it. For this instance, I've saved it here. Now, I am not going to load this because for safety purposes, I do not want any of this information shown. But here you would click open. Once you click open, all the information is going to be shown here. And these two are going to light up. When they light up, you're going to click save private key. Now, there's going to be an option to save an extra password. Leave that blank. When you go to save, it's going to be like, are you sure? Yes, you're sure. Don't do an extra password. It's just more of a pain in the ass you got to go through. This is already pretty encrypted as to begin with. So just save it. Once you save and you've told it, yes, I'm sure, you're going to see something like this show up on your desktop. It's a little computer with a hat, and it's going to be whatever you named. It should already be running in the background. If it's not, just double click it. This is what puTTy looks for the key when you launch your puTTy application. So this is important to be running just for safety purposes. It can't always hurt because it'll terminate the old one and bring up a new one. Just go ahead and double click it. Nothing's going to happen, but in the background, it will launch it. I'm not going to do it because I found that it blanks my video, but if you hit Control-Alt-Delete, you scroll through your tasks running, you're going to see puTTy gen key, I think it is running in the background. That is this key. That is the generation key to allow you into the server. Once you've done this, you're going to actually open up puTTy. Once you open up puTTy, you're going to get a screen like this. We're going to start from the bottom down. First thing you're going to do is click on the plus on SSH. You're going to go to tunnels. This is what's going to help you access the VNC server. This is going to be 59.0.0.0, and under destination, you're going to do 127.0.0.1 semicolon 5900. Now this is a local IP port. What we're doing is we're essentially creating a tunnel through puTTy to the server so we can see it running. That's all this is. Once you click add, you're going to see something pop up here, and I'll show you in a second because I've already saved one. Next thing we're going to go to is we're going to go to connection and data. Here in lowercase, you're going to type Ubuntu, U-B-U-N-T-U. Then you're going to scroll up and you're going to go session. Now, here's why I didn't click load and save on anything. You can either do it as your default setting or you can do it as a new one. If you do a new one, you just type it here and then you click save and it'll save a new one. But with me, let's get rid of that just so it doesn't load anything crazy. I'm going to go ahead and load my pre-saved. This helps you to streamline your process as you continue to do this. So I'm just going to load it. And as you notice, after I click load, if we go back down here, tunnels, there it is. Under connection and data, there's my login and session. The only thing you're always going to have to change is your IP address, which you should have copied and pasted. Again, make sure you note this. It changes every time you boot up the server. So make sure you note this. Once you've done that, you're going to see this screen. Go ahead and say yes. Let it do its thing. Once you see this, you're up and running. The server is up and it is running. You can go over to VNC, which I'll show you once it finally does it. And here you're going to type 127.0.0.1 and you'd hit enter. Once you do, you're going to see a password request pop up. You can find that password under the NoseyNick. I found if you just hit Control F and start typing in password, you'll see it right here. The VNC password is SIG93AIR. That will help you log in. Once you log in, oh, don't do that. Once you log in, oh, I've encountered a serious problem. We're sorry. Huh. Alright, well, I've ran across this. There is a way, so if you do this, you're going to notice it's going to close out. I don't know, but every once in a while that shows up. If that happens, there's actually an easy solution to that. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do, where did I save it there? Info. Did I save it here? Yep, right here. If it crashes like you just saw, all you got to do is type bash artemis.sh. Type it into your server. It's going to do all of this. It's going to start running it. It's going to redo it. Give it a second. It's going to go through all sorts of stuff. Waiting, 59, 56. If it gets down to 0 and it hasn't launched, there's a problem. But soon, once it finally decides it's actually going to work, boop, there we go. It's up and running. So now let's try that again. I'm actually kind of glad that did that because that way I can kind of show you what happens. There you go. So once it's up and running, you can select what you need and start your game. And then from there, have all of your people log into the IP address which your ASW has given you, which is right there. Now, I'll show you two different things. One thing is actually what you just saw is sometimes it crashes, and when it crashes, it sucks, but you can always retype that bash artemis.sh and it'll reboot. The other thing too is this is actually another huge thing is NoseyNick has put into this server an auto shut off around 4 hours. You can bypass that. All you have to type is ATQ, and you're going to see the service running. Now, because I had a crash and I rebooted, you're seeing two servers, or I mean two instances where it does it. If yours didn't crash the first time, it's not going to show you two. It's only going to show you one. To get rid of it, all you do is ATRM space and the number that you're doing. When you type ATQ again, you're going to notice it's gone. Notice how mine now has the 2. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my other one too, ATRM space 2, and there you go. If I type ATQ, notice how nothing shows up. So now those timers have gone. This server will run permanently until I physically terminate it. Like I said, this is only if you know you're going to be playing over 4 hours. The server is automatically designed to shut itself down after 4. So if you're only going to be playing, 1 or 2 games, likelihood of you running over 4 hours is very slim. If you're playing a scenario kind of event, you probably will run over 4 hours, and if that's the case, you're going to want to turn that timer off. But it's really up to you. And like I said, if you turn it off, you have to remember to terminate this server. If you don't, it will keep running, and you will be charged for it. So I'll show you right now how to shut this is my VNC. Nope, let's shut the VNC down too. Alright, so let's say you turn the timer off and your game's over and you want to finish. All you got to do is go back to, if you're not already here, services, EC2, bring you to this website. Then you click instances. And once my computer finally decides to load, there you are. There it's running. Just click on it. Right click. Instant state. Instant state. And terminate. It's going to say, are you sure? You're going to say, yeah. Once you've done that, boop, it shuts down and it goes away. When you see a red dot and terminated like this, it's gone. That's it. It's just, that's just the history letting you know, hey, you terminated something. But that's it. You're not being charged because you're not running anything. Now, technically, you have nothing. And you would follow these steps again to get back to make another server, and you keep repeating that process. Like I said, the wonderful thing about this is the prices are so significantly lower than trying to run a graphic interface server. It's remarkable. It's amazing, and Nick did an amazing job putting this all together. He also leaves at the bottom here. On Discord, the USN Discord here, you can find him. You can also find me. I'm Davis. If you have any further questions, and we'll try to do our best to try to help you out. I believe I'm the first, at least, recording and documenting on how to do it with Windows. I think Nick uses Ubuntu himself to run all of this. So the main website you're going to want to remember is nosenynick.org/Artemis/AWS. This will help you start up. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this explained a lot.